This story was not a story I had read as a child, but it is the second children's story that I've set to music. The other one was a story from my childhood, Maya the Bee. But this one was something that someone recommended to me, the book, after she saw Maya the Bee. And she was a friend who likes children's stories a lot, and she told me to read a lot of them, and she recommended several, and this is the one that I really liked. This particular book was written in 1930, and then it won the Newbery Award in '31. And it's a woman from Maine, Elizabeth Coatsworth, who wrote the story. And I just think it's still alive. She wrote it 74 years ago, and it's still very vital. The character of the cat is a little different than it was in the book. For one thing, I made her like a cat that I had 20 years ago, named Bagheera. And then I guess I identify with her, and she expresses some of my own inhibitions. This is the 5th album, I think, that John and I have done together. The first one was Street of Dreams. That's a long time ago. But anyway, I just think John is a fantastic producer, and he's so... none of these things could have happened without him. The lyrics of the piece, I was using them just to tell the story, mostly. But I also to define each character. I thought it was amazing how a lot of these musicians didn't know the story. I didn't have time to tell them the story, but they intuitively grasped. So that it's just, there's several moments in it which, like for instance, Clark, who didn't know the story at all, and when he does that scat solo, he sounds like the official mourner, and it's just so perfect. You'd think that he did know the story. It's just one of the ways in which they're great musicians. We thought of the Japanese instruments as just setting the mood and giving a feeling of Asia. And also of representing each of the characters. There are 4 characters and 4 Japanese instruments. But we didn't realize how well they would do it, and because they didn't know anything about the music at all. And we just did it at the studio, and they heard a little bit of the songs, and they just improvised at the studio with John supervising them. And I just think it gives a nice haunting sound. I like that moment when the Japanese instrument announces the housekeeper's arrival before she's actually on the scene, because every time I hear it, I can just see this housekeeper coming down the road, and it's amusing. Some of my favorite things about the record, I'd say, first of all, is Grady. I love the way he changes from someone who's just all so self-absorbed that he's thinking about just being hungry in the beginning, and then he becomes enchanted by the cat, and then he changes to celebrating about his good fortune, changes in his fortune, and then goes into meditation and work, and then finally this moment of great sacrifice and empathy. It's what I loved about the book, one of the things I loved about the book, and I just think Grady does it to perfection. I like Charles Pillow's solo, the English horn solo on I Am Too Shy, and the interplay between Darrell and George Mraz on Lost in Contemplation. George is great. Dennis McCrell was one of the musicians that I didn't know before we did this album. But I had seen him play when I went to hear Bob Brookmeyer. I remembered his name because I liked him so much at that performance. And one of the things I like, because I always like about it, I love to watch drummers. Some of them are more wonderful to watch than others, and he's one of the ones that's great to watch. All his body movements. So I just think he adds a lot to the record.
What we want from you is your artist's view. You were chosen from the many by the one, the perfect.
I love the sound of Anton's, the pure sound he has. And I think he's just right as the priest, the Buddhist priest. The character is, especially on the song, The Perfect One, I think the character is in awe of the fact that Buddha apparently chose the artist for this job. And he obviously believes it. He kind of comes across as a mystic. And I just think he does it very well.
We saw the names had blown away, and only one was left to stay, and that was yours, my son. You are the chosen one.
Here's my chance. Our situation.
I love the Jamaican rhythm that the rhythm section did on Celebration. It's not very Japanese, but it's good. And also amuses me on the vocal part that Daryl and I sound like a pair of demented raylets. Kenny Barron is one of the few musicians that I hadn't worked with before on this record, but I just think it's my favorite moments on the album are Kenny Barron's. I just think he was fabulous. The solo that ends the solo piano that ends the record is just great. And the one on I'll Paint Her In, I love his solo on that one. I think that the message of the book is embodied in the song So Happy I Could Die. And it's just the fact that she's accepted by the artist because of his love for her is somehow so meaningful to me. That is what it was in the book that made me want to write these songs. I just think I somehow got the best of all worlds, because just by accident that Kenny Werner did these arrangements, and then Mike did the orchestration, and then Kenny Barron played them. It just worked out very well. I just love the variety that they've given my melodies and the use of the strings, and then Grady's passionate rendition of some of the songs like I'll Paint Her In, and they just came out to be more than I ever imagined they would be.